many of us growing up have a vision for ourselves. Some of us go on to become legendary, while some of us, no matter what we achieve, still strive to do more. And then there are some of us who are just never happy with what we have. But there's still a certain section of people who take an absolutely drastic turn in their lives, which I don't think that even they have envisioned. And why am I talking about this is because the guest that I have tonight, she has somewhat a very similar journey. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming former day banking professional and present day monk, Emma Slade. Hello, Emma. How are you?
Hello.
How are
Yeah.
things there? How are things there?
Yeah, so currently I'm back in the UK. I'm not in Bhutan where I usually is studying
Right.
because of the COVID situation. And they're fine. They're fine. They're fine for me, but I'm aware that for many other people it's quite difficult
Right.
time still. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I really would like to take this opportunity to say that I always wanted to meet a monk because I think the kind of understanding and wisdom and knowledge that you have in terms of life that we people literally struggle with is just very intimidating. And why I say intimidating is because you do it with even more compassion and kindness and calmness, which again, we are struggling with. So it's a beautiful, blend of everything. So thank you so much. I mean, I really want to express my gratitude to you for being a part of this conversation and honoring me with this discussion with you. So thank you.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, I know what you mean. Even, for me, it's very inspiring, like to see an image of a Buddha, like something in your heart just thinks, some possibility there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or if you see somebody in robes, to me, it's also very inspiring. But I should say that I'm just a very small practitioner, and people like my teachers in Bhutan, like Dojla Ben here, they're very great practitioners. And so I am just a very small representation of like a very small little flower, and there are some kind of completely awakened and fully blossoming flowers in robes. So you shouldn't think that I'm too special because just very small steps along the path. Yeah.
But also understand that you are our hope, because if you start calling yourself small, fancy about all of us who have not even reached there, and we're not even there. We're far away from it.
Okay, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it to sound like that. I didn't mean it to sound like that. I mean, we as humans, we all have challenges, and we all have different paths to walk. I've now been encouraged to walk a monastic path, a path in robes, the path of a renunciate, right? And that has certain challenges, but also to be what you could call a lay person, a person in regular society, that also has many challenges. There are many freedoms that come with being a renunciate. When I look at people living a lay life, sometimes it looks like the challenges in a way are much, much greater. So I have so much respect for anybody who is attempting to live a pure life, a life of contentment and understanding without the support of these robes or the texts that I read regularly or the teachers that I have. You feel much more anchored to something that can help to nurture that part of you. Sometimes as a lay person, you so want to be the best person you can be, but you don't have so many supports or books or teachers to help you. It can be a much, much harder path.
So tell me one thing, that what has been the biggest difference between Emma Slade before her monk journey and Emma Slade after her monk journey? Like one thing that I was never like that, because whatever videos I have seen of you, I can have an idea that you've been very full of life. I think you
Mm.
like to laugh, you like to
Mm.
be very jolly and be around people and have a good laugh and have interesting conversations. At least that's
Mm.
what I could figure out, that this is something that you would have enjoyed even before you became a monk. But that what's that one difference that you can say that I was not like that, or being a monk has literally transformed me like this?
Okay, yeah. So there is a freedom which comes with being in robes. There's a mental freedom and a freedom of your heart, right? So sometimes I say to people, it's so much easier to express your kindness towards others when you're in robes, because other people don't think, that's a bit weird. What do you want of me? Why are you offering to hold my shopping or whatever? You know, they think, oh no, okay, these people, they're supposed to be kind. I get it, you know. So often, you know, it can be hard to express your joy towards other people, your love, your care, your kindness to them, particularly if they're not in your immediate family, because people are going to think, what's going on here?
Right.
You know, so, you know, I think before becoming a monastic, it was much harder for me to feel that I could be a kind person, and that in expressing kindness, I would get so much fulfillment and joy from that. And just even small little things when encountering people or animals or anything, you know, that's a big change. I think I thought that joy in the heart, I don't know what I thought it came from. I don't know if I thought it came from a big career or having lots of clothes or having a big night out with people. I don't know where I thought it came from, but now I feel very strongly that for me, if I feel that kindness is coming and sharing it and expressing it in my daily life, that just makes me feel very alive, very happy. And I hope it's slightly contagious, you know. So yeah, that's probably one of the biggest changes. And I suppose then, you know, it's kind of strange. I think as a monastic, you can live very simply. You know, you can live very peacefully, you can live very simply. On the other hand, the more stable and your mind becomes, and the more the kindness grows, actually, the more there is a wish to help many beings. So it's a strange combination, I think, that develops. There's a stability of the mind, so it's not rocked so much by what somebody says or what happens, you know, that, you know, how your boss is, or, you know, what somebody says to you, right? It's more stable, but it is more filled with an energy to help others, to not waste your time, to think in a wide way about your possibilities of what you could contribute and help in the world. So it's a kind of a strange combination. And those two factors, those two mental factors, the capacity to be stable in the mind, but also the capacity to think very wide and with a lot of energy in the mind, that those have definitely changed since, you know, I walked this path and did a lot of training, obviously, you know, in terms of Buddhist training.
So this is something like what I understood is that when you actually get free from your own struggles, when your mind feels lighter because your focus is not towards, you know, this is where I'm lagging behind, or this is where I'm struggling, or this is where my life has problems or issues in. When you get free from that, because your mind needs something to think about, suddenly you start seeing picture like from a neutral perspective, and start seeing a bigger and wider picture, and that makes you, you know, direct that energy and channel that energy to help other people and be of service to other people, something
Yeah, I
like
think you understood it very well. And there you are, you're not in robes, you got it.
perfect, nice. So
Excellent.
so what does exactly, you know, a monk life mean, or what does exactly a monk mission, or like we talk about nowadays having a monk mindset, you know, what exactly does that mean?
Okay, so mm, big question, big question. So first of all, it would be to know clearly your motivation for your life. Yeah, so when we do just a very simple morning prayer, to take refuge, to take shelter in the example of the Buddha, teachings of Dharma, and the community of Buddhist practitioners, etc. And you make a vow to attain enlightenment, the state of enlightenment, for the benefit of all sentient beings, however many lifetimes it takes. So first of all, that's your beginning point. When you think about your perspective, you think, my wish is to gain enlightenment. And you recognize that it may take many, many years, many lifetimes to do that. Yeah, so there's your starting point. Yeah, so that's the basic motivation. And then from there, what you do and how you do it is to try and make that wish come true and to stay faithful to that wish that you've made. So you would train your mind, you would do your prayers, your meditations, you will seek to develop a mind which is generous, is patient, is ethical, and which has the stamina. It doesn't give up because there will be obstacles along the way.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and then largely you can say that if you wanted to summarize what you're seeking to develop, you're seeking to develop compassion and wisdom. Those are the two main qualities that are viewed as inherent, like they're inherent to you, inherent to me, inherent to all sentient beings. They're there waiting to be cultivated, like a seed in the ground. You know, it's waiting for the sun and the water and the care and the attention to come alive, right? And so those are the main things. There's also, apart from meditation and prayer, there's also quite a lot of philosophical study involved, which is called Shidra. So there's a number of texts that we are studying so that we can fully understand the philosophical point of view of Buddhism. It's a huge subject. And then particularly so that if people ask you questions, you have clear foundation to answer those questions from, not just your personal opinion, you can say. Yeah.
But yeah, you were sort of saying something, I guess.
And I guess that the other thing is to try and live with integrity, so that when people, even if people aren't interested in Buddhism, that your presence or your example is inspiring in terms of living peacefully, caring, clearly caring about beings, showing a way of living simply and with a lot of love and compassion, that is clear when they encounter you, so that they can see that you walk the talk, we say in English. I don't know if you say that in India, so that you are a living example of what you're talking about. That aspect has to be there. Yeah.
But tell me one thing, someone like you who has seen that side of life as well, right? And then now, like you said, that, you know, training your mind and having that sort of stamina. And I'm sure, I mean, you know, that because I've seen that there are many monks who have been initiated into this journey right from their very foundational years, right? Now, but someone like you who's seen that side of life, and I'm sure it would be very tough to leave that. Not tough, but, you know, because somewhere it just gets, we're so entangled with it that somehow does it come back at times? That's what my question is. That has, are there points in life, or, you know, those small burst of moments that those things come back, and, or, you know, because you have trained your mind so well that, you know that, this is, I mean, I'm on the right path, and you don't even get those sort of thoughts?
For me personally, a lot of people come to talk to me. You know, a lot of people come to talk to me, and I teach a lot of people, etc. So that keeps you very close to the reality of how difficult it is to be a human, how difficult it is to be married, how difficult it is to find peace, how difficult it is to cope with maybe a challenging boss. So people present their daily struggles to me quite a lot, and that that just is a constant reminder of just how hard it is sometimes. The human realm is so hard, right? For me personally, I've been in robes now for 8 years, and I've had a couple of moments in that time where I've definitely kind of gone, oh, let me just check. Is this right? Do I, is this really? And they've lasted momentarily, and usually they have served to remotivate me, actually. Usually out of those moments I've come and I've thought, oh, I'm so thankful for my teachers. I am so thankful for this path. I go back, I read some text, and it's like being fed the most beautiful food. It's like being, I can't explain it. And then I think when you have those moments of thinking, really? And then you come back and you think, it just serves you to be more clear, more grateful for the opportunity to practice, to have, I've been so lucky to have my teachers in Bhutan. I mean, I'm born in England, in a little seaside village at sea level in England. And I end up finding all my teachers at 3,000 meters altitude in Bhutan and get the opportunity to be taught by them. I mean, you can't make it up. I mean, how did that happen, So I feel so grateful. So whenever, I've had a couple of moments, I've thought, this looks a bit odd to me, and then they've passed and they've just made me clearer, actually. Yeah.
Good that you spoke about it, because what I was about to ask is that, so many times now, I don't know how much of is it applicable over here, but so many times we have seen monks who have got liberated from their close and personal relationship, but it's such a beautiful juxtaposition, because then they become one with everyone, you know. So does it happen? Like, is it so that, I mean, leaving behind everything, your family, marriage, friends, whatsoever circle you are in, that you leave that, and it's not that you leave that, it's just that a higher calling that you answer to, and somehow in the process, all of that becomes one with everyone. It's not that, you are dedicatedly looking at them now that this is my family, because I think then the whole world is your family to serve. But of course, as a layman, for me, if I am the family member, I would be like, but we were close. I wouldn't be able to understand that point of view, that, okay, no, we are one. Though I'm not related to this person or I'm not related to that person, but we all are one. Which understanding you have?
Oh, you're making many big statements there. So another conversation could go on for a long time. So obviously, from a Buddhist point of view, the nature of reality is one of interdependence. There is never any separate self.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have some idea that everything is one, from a Buddhist point of view, we probably wouldn't use that phrase, everything is one, but we would recognize, as quantum physics does, that reality is interconnected. You can't separate it from itself, and the notion that we have a separate self is a conceptual construction. It's not a reality. In terms of not being with friends or people or whatever, right? There are certain parts of the path where that may appear to be the case, particularly if you're in retreat conditions. That's very clearly the door is closed. You're at the most apparently removed place, right? But outside retreat conditions, you are likely to meet many people, etc., etc., etc. You can't pretend you're not, you're not there. The question is the mind that is there, the mind that is there as you're in those circumstances. How is it with those circumstances? So for instance, if you're with other people and some desire is there or some greed is there or something, you know. But if your mind is increasingly stable and pure, then you can be in any circumstances and it's fine, right? You're not, how can you say, just being there, um, neither wanting or not wanting. Just, yeah. Does that make sense? Have I explained that correctly?
As in being neutral about it. It's basically we're talking about attachments should not be there. It should be more from the point of service and being there to serve other person at that moment and not being, this is mine, this person is mine, and being possessive about it. Is that so? I mean, did I understand it right?
Yeah, a little bit like that. Um, you know, the practice is to train the mind. Yeah. So I had this interesting situation where I went to visit a monk who was in long-term retreat. Yeah, I had an opportunity to visit him. And I was very in awe of this situation, to visit somebody who's in long-term retreat, they're on their own, they're up a mountain, da, 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 da. And at the end of the visit, he asked if I could get him an iPad, right? This is very shocking to me because his outer circumstances looked so much like a renunciate and a retreatant, but the mind was still thinking about an iPad. Okay, so it's the mind. It's the mind.
Okay. So if
Whether we're away from people or with people, it's the mind.
I mean, exactly. So if I interpreted it right, no matter whatever relationship it is, whether it is someone who's closely associated with me or whether it's a complete stranger, some random person that I bumped into and having a conversation, but as long as, again, I would say that as long as it is not something that, I own this, or I want this, or I need this, and it's free from all, and it's just purely dedicated to channelizing that energy to serve and be kind and be compassionate, forgetting those boundaries of having relationships, that is what it all matters.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I mean, I'm not
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm not seeking to, it probably sounds very harsh, I'm not seeking to judge that practitioner. I was just completely shocked, but it taught me a lot, you know. And so we are encouraged from such an early age to feel that we need, and we must need more and more and more. We are in a state of need.
True.
You know, we are encouraged culturally, I think, to feel that way, isn't it? You know, and the needs go on and on and on and on and on, and they're never ending. And the world creates more and more things, and then it's very, then you think you need that, and then you need that, and then you need that. It's like never ending, you know. And so I'm just saying that that incident was a moment which taught me that how hard it is to be free of the idea that you need something else, that everything would be better if you just had that or that or that. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect in any way. I'm just noting the strength of that mindset, even in the most beautiful, peaceful places. If the mind has not freed itself from that habit, it just is there, no matter how many rainbows there are in the sky, you know.
That got reminded me of this really beautiful saying which said that detachment is not that I own nothing. Detachment is that nothing owns me. And the first time when I heard it, I was like, wow,
That's
really
good. That's good. I think that's excellent, actually. I think that may be a way of describing it which makes more sense to people, because the words attachment and detachment are quite hard to speak of, I think. So that's a useful phrase, I think. Yeah, that's a great contribution.
So then does being driven, is that then bad? Because like you said that, we are culturally taught that as that. Like we are literally right from the very beginning years, we are pushed into all this where you have to do academically well, then you have to get a good job, then you have to get settled by a certain age, then you have to start a family, and then your kids have to be something. It's like, you know, you're always driven to do something or the other. So is drive a good thing? And I'm always very confused that, you know, being content wherever am I, or being driven and being ambitious and achieving and doing things.
I think you'll find that there are different forms of that. But I think, first of all, important to recognize that we have been given the opportunity ourselves to be in a human form. You know, we didn't come here as a snail or a worm or something, right? So in this human form, we have this extraordinary collection of skills and talents and potentials, right? Because we've got, you know, incredible brain, we can cognitively really problem solve and think about things. We have a huge capacity for, you know, we all our gross and fine motor skills. You know, you don't see worms driving cars or, you know, going to university or something, isn't it? So first of all, we have to see just how many potential talents we have given this human form. We already are very full of talents, even just right now, you know, with what is here, you know. And then the question, I think, is what do you want to do with those talents and for whose benefit, you know? We do have the capacity to achieve so much, and there's nothing wrong in being focused and using your talents and your energy. But the question is it just to help one being, or, you know, maybe a very small number of beings? It really is about expanding your mind to help many, many, many beings. With that motivation, you know, with that motivation, then we are going to use our talents so much more effectively. If we take a spiritual angle on it, as I said at the beginning, we wish that all sentient beings reach enlightenment. So if we do activity which is helping them particularly towards compassion and wisdom, that is particularly helpful, you know, in order that they are helped towards enlightenment also. Yeah, I mean, I'm a quite an energetic person, as you know, and
so basically being driven to impact more and more people, and it can be, the drive can also be that, you know, I have to spread my kindness or be service to more and more people. The drive can also be for that. So I think what I'm hearing is that even your intention matters. It's just not
the
about
intention is really, really important. From a Buddhist point of view, your intention, your motivation is so important. And whether your motivation is just here for this one being, or a few more beings, and a few more beings, and a few more beings, and a few more beings. And in that way, what we say there is that your motivation or your mental, your mind is more accurately connected to reality, because the reality is there are limitless number of sentient beings. You know, that's not a fantasy, that's reality. So the mind then and reality are understanding each other well.
But for that, I guess the first thing, even that what I've heard is that the first thing is that the destruction of your ego, because only then you'll be able to see that wider picture. And I think that is what.
Yeah, from a Buddhist point of view, first of all, we want to turn the energy and the possibilities of the human are along a good path, right? We can't call that the destruction of the ego, in fact, because you have to decide to do that. You know, it's like sometimes you'll see the Buddhist trainings summarized as 3 things, right? Refrain from negative speech, action, and thought, right? Take positive speech, action, and thought, and train the mind. All those 3, they're conscious decisions to do that. They're choices you have to make. They're not going to just happen by you sitting there. You know what I mean? In every human situation, we're always going to have a choice to cause suffering or to bring happiness and free ourselves and other beings from suffering. We're always going to have that conscious choice. And in the beginning, I think it's very important to recognize that, and in daily situations, to recognize, okay, I can choose to cause suffering here with my energy, with my talents, or I can choose not to. Now, that does require a certain amount of energy and awareness. It's up to you. And we have to practice those habits and clear our mind more and more and more and more. And that does, in the beginning, actually require quite a lot of energy and determination. You know, when you're turning the habits of the mind around from selfishness or anger or whatever, it's like turning a big truck in a road. It's not easy, right? You know, you really have to pay attention and think about it, to refrain from causing the negative, to positively take activity, right? And then to train the mind. And so there does need to be an energy of determination. There really does. That's why it's difficult. You know, that's why my Lama says if it was easy, everybody would do it. You know, it sounds great, but it does require energy and determination. Then later on, it becomes, even neuroscientists will tell you, it becomes your neural pathways. It becomes your habits. Then it becomes much easier. You don't feel as if you have to make it happen. But to be honest, in the beginning, you need that energy, you need that determination. And it's only you that can do it. And that's why it requires that integrity. You know, I said I'm going to free my mind from anger, because when I'm angry, my mind is and I cause a lot of suffering. I said that, now come on, you know, here's the opportunity. You know, am I going to be angry, or am I going to free myself from anger, that habit of anger? You know, and only you will often know it, because these may be the deepest aspects of who you are. It may only be a dialogue with yourself. Nobody else may know that you're trying really, really hard to turn away from anger and become more compassionate. You know, so you look at yourself really honestly to see what's going on. And so, you know, to a certain extent, only you can do it, but we hope that the conditions around you will support that a teacher will arise, that you will find some inspirational books, that you will find friends you can talk to and share these ideas with to support you on that way, you know, but ultimately you do need a strength of mind.
I think that is also the reason now I understand that, you know, when like you took this monastic path and, you know, we see so many of the monks training together and staying together, living together, is because I think the community helps a lot. That if one even sort of wavers, the other one or the whole community would be there to, like you said, to remotivate them or to get them back on the track. And maybe that is the reason somewhere on the monastic journey, your personal relationship, because you sort of feel that, you know, okay, this is not serving me somehow, somewhere. In fact, that is what my question is, that do you think that relationships or marriage then can be distractions on your pursuit towards your true consciousness? Can they be distractions?
For me, yes. Maybe not for others.
Okay.
That's a personal question.
Okay.
For me, yes. But it's not for everyone. It may be for somebody, it's very helpful. And you see many Rinpoches, many reincarnates who have a partner and have children, etc. For me, it's not the best way. But I can only speak for me on that question.
So that can also be an individual choice, even in the monastic or the monk community. That can also be a very individual choice, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, in the monastic community, there are certain rules and different, you know, different schools of thought, etc. But I think that part of my particular journey, I mean, I didn't, as you say, I wasn't born in Bhutan. I didn't enter monastic life at an early age, right? I was born in the West. So I thought, of course, that ultimately I would be married and that I would have a partner, and that would be like, they call it your soulmate. And this is a big aspiration for me, right? I mean, that's what we said is what we want, right? I too had that learning, right? It never really worked out for me. And genuinely, this is a better path for me. It brings out the best in me. But it may not bring out the best in everybody else. It may be for some other people that um, caring for somebody like a partner in particular may bring great compassion with them. They will go through struggles together. They will create greater empathy and understanding. You know, for some people that may be the way. It's not for me.
Mm.
My mind is calmer and huger and more joyful and lighter, as you said, in this path. But that's just my, my personal thing. And I don't think monastic path is maybe the best path for everybody by any means. And one of the things that I think is very interesting for me now is when I see couples together, because obviously I do a lot, there's a lot of people out there that are married or whatever, the companionship of that, the supportive companionship that a marriage or whatever offers, somebody that you can confide in and rely on and share your difficulties with if you've had a tough day, or share some wonderful experience with, a sunset or an art gallery, I don't know what. There's something that appears so beautiful to me about that now. I couldn't have seen it before. Now I really think there's something really beautiful there about that sharing and that companionship. It's not for me, but I really can appreciate it.
But then, like you said, that it is an individual choice. But is there any one standpoint in terms of viewing marriage or coming together of two people according to spirituality? Like, if I ask, would there be any one answer to define that this is how spirituality view coming together of two people? Because, for example, in India, when we talk about marriage, we talk about the rest of being together for the rest of 7 life cycles. In Christianity, I know they say till death do us apart. But is it really so? Like, are we really that accountable to each other? Or it's just that, in our head that we have made it like that? Because I think we all are on our own journey and we are there to elevate each other to the next level. But is it so that, we are so accountable to each other?
I don't know the answer to this. I mean, we all have life circumstance, right? There'll be many situations in that life. There'll be sickness, there'll be aging, there'll be, marriage, there'll be children, there'll be divorce, there'll be death, there'll be arguments, there'll be wonderful things. From a Buddhist point of view, there's a very strong feeling of it's called taking everything into the path, or bringing everything into the path, right? So these are the circumstances. And from any circumstance, we can generate compassion and wisdom. Any circumstance is transformable into that. So whether you're with somebody or not is no different from any other. I don't think we have to make it a particular thing in that way. Any circumstance has the capacity to create suffering or not suffering according to how we deal with it,
Like you said, I guess even earlier you pointed out that it's all about the mind. No matter who you are with, it's all just about the mind.
Yeah, and the conditions, and for me, the best conditions to cultivate, to be free of causing suffering, to cultivate, helping others and to train my mind. For me, those best conditions are the ones that I have luckily now, but they're just the best conditions for my particular
ecosystem
flower
to blossom.
Yeah, there's this soil for me, but I'm not saying that's the case for everyone by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah.
True. Okay, so there's one question that I really wanted to understand from the spiritual part, because so I had 2 interviews with which were very forgiveness oriented. Like, I had 2 guests on my show whose dear ones were killed in violence, some in terror violence and some in gang violence, but they chose to forgive those who did that, which is a very huge thing.
Yeah,
So,
amazing.
according to spirituality, how would you place justice? Because see, we've got, I think, we've got trials and punishments and courts and police stations, and the significance of all of it is so that to establish that fear, so people do not commit crime, right? But here we are also looking, this new breed of justice, which is called reformative justice or restorative justice, where we actually try and understand that why the perpetrator was forced to do that. Like, even if they chose it, then what were their circumstances that they became like that, right? So, do you think that we really need these strict institutions in the society to govern law and order, or how does spirituality view law and order and justice?
Oh, I'm not sure how well qualified I feel on this subject. First of all, on the question of forgiveness, though, forgiveness is such a profound practice, I think. I mean, often we talk about meditation or being peaceful. Forgiveness is just I think it's a very, very advanced practice because it implies that you can um, let go of the habit of clinging on to something negative, which is such a big problem for so many people in different ways, right? And it implies a huge capacity to free yourself from that, the suffering that will come from that, and the suffering that it will create for others. So I just think forgiveness is a huge thing. Sometimes people feel they should forgive very easily, and I think it's a very advanced practice. I think to truly forgive, to wish to choose to forgive, I think is a very advanced practice. And I'm, so just as you say, it really makes you awestruck when you see it, particularly with very challenging circumstances, doesn't it? So that's a real spiritual example for us right there. Those two people that you spoke to, yeah, amazing. So from a Buddhist point of view, the second paramita, the second perfection, is your ethical conduct. And Buddhism is not without a sense of ethics, and that there needs to be a grounding in ethics. And so that's a very strong part of Buddhist practice. As with all great ideas, when great ideas get in the hands of lots of humans and become in the form of institutions, then the biases and struggles of those humans can affect the institutions that are created, right? So maybe we see a little bit of that. In a perfect world, everybody would be so awake and ethically aware and realize that what causes happiness and what causes suffering. So clearly, I guess that we would get to a place where we would be free from the need for those institutions, but I don't see that in the world that we live in. So we probably have the need for these slightly imperfect ways of encouraging us to adhere to ethical boundaries, which presumably are there to stop so much suffering in the world and help it be better. But I doubt they're perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, I have given that right on my behalf to someone else to judge that thing, that, a case where I have been wronged. So I think that is the reason why the whole new system of restorative justice is coming up, wherein the perpetrator and the victim is involved and the community, because it was just between them, right? So I think that's why many people, I think, and yes, you're right, I think forgiveness, I really feel after those two interviews that forgiveness is a calling. You don't choose forgiveness, forgiveness chooses you, and it comes with a lot amount of spirituality, or having right spiritual practices in place. I don't think so any one of us who are very much apart or away from our true consciousness, I don't think we will be able to. But those people were able to do that because they were meditators, and they have been very strong spiritual practices. So yeah, even I feel that forgiveness is a calling. It definitely
Yeah,
is.
amazing practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my next three I don't know if these questions are asked to monks or not, but it's just that, these are those questions that I just wanted to have an understanding from the spiritual perspective, because it has been so deeply ingrained in our youth that, and I just wanted to have that balance to a very neutral perspective that uh, maybe it is not wrong, but maybe it can be damaging, right? So I have these three, topics that I really wanted your expertise or your wisdom on. So first one is that according to spirituality, how does it view LGBT or maybe genderqueer? How does that come across according to spirituality?
Oh, I don't know. When we use this word spirituality, it's like such a big term, right? So
Yeah.
first of all, have some caution there. I think from a Buddhist point of view, again, uh, if you remember, Buddhism says for all sentient beings, yeah, and the appearance, uh, the surface appearance of a sentient being is just a surface appearance.
Right.
Yeah. So we would always wish to that sentient being and whatever appearance they have to become enlightened, to cultivate compassion and wisdom. It's no different. In the human form, we have the greatest chance of that, greater than a tortoise or a worm, right? That's the main thing. That's the overview, you can say. Yeah.
Basically, we're looking at the soul and not just that what gender you are or what gender you do not want to be, and it's the soul that you have, right?
Yeah, I mean, gender can certainly be an issue within the Buddhist institutions, right? And spiritual institutions. I think you've seen in many spiritual callings some issues around gender, right? So I think we can see that in the imperfect institutions that are run by humans, we may see some flaws there. But from my experience as a practitioner, I return to the previous way of thinking that every sentient being, we wish every sentient being to be liberated, to develop compassion and wisdom, whatever the apparent
Yeah,
appearance.
right. And what does Buddhist philosophy, for that matter, uh, uh, think about, or do you think it's damaging when it comes to, because friends with benefits, one night stands, flings, these are something that's very common for a youth. That's very, yeah, it's fine sort of thing for you. So what do you think? What does Buddhist philosophy, like how would what would be the, not opinion, but of course not an opinion, but what uh, how would be they reacting or
Okay,
responding?
there's definitely no text on that. The
Yeah,
sutra of the one night
exactly.
stand. There's definitely no text on that, as far as I can see. Definitely, the human realm is characterized by the mind of desire.
Yeah,
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 this is what's seen as characterizing the human realm is the quality of desiring. Yeah, and so I think with these questions we're recognizing the truth of that. That in the human realm, desire is such a strong force. Yeah, and so I don't have a particular opinion on it in terms of this behavior. As I've said before, every activity can be brought onto the path. And so we can learn in many, many different ways. But the filter has to be particularly, have I caused some other being suffering by that activity? By that chosen activity, have I caused them suffering? You may want to think about that. Sometimes it's not easy to learn these things, as you negotiate the realm of desire. It's not easy to work out what it means for you, whether desire leads to permanent happiness, whether it doesn't. You've probably got to try it out a bit. We're embodied humans. You may be able to work it out in theory without doing anything, But usually us humans, we have to try things out in reality. If we get stuck in a habit that causes suffering, that's not good.
Mm.
But there is also a process of learning and waking up. And that sometimes does require some embodied activity, and then the need to forgive or to regret and make clearer statements about how you do choose to live and how much desire is running you.
I think what you said made sense because I'm not saying desire is bad, and when even I picked up LGBT for that matter, or one night stands or whatever. This is a very individual choice, and of course, it's not harming anyone. But it's just that I wanted to understand how much of is it damaging. It's an individual choice again. But yes, you're very right that I think it's all about desire. And sometimes you really learn after you invest yourself too much into desire and you realize that, maybe it's going out of my hands. It's all about having that right balance, I believe that if I'm able to control my mind and if I'm able to put a stop at it where right before when I know, now it's going to be out of my hands if I keep indulging in it. And because I guess once you do that, once you cross a threshold, either it's a downfall or maybe you get a perspective that to come out of it, I have to have certain sort of backing, which we essentially find in exploring our own selves, going within our own selves, um, adopting a practice, leaning towards spirituality, which then shows them the bigger picture. Like I have heard so many examples of people who have, and somewhere, why am I talking so much about desire? Is because somewhere I've seen so many examples that people, these sort of people, when we talk about desire, it's just that they're looking out for something and they do not know what is it. And that is the reason they're experimenting everywhere, but they're still not able to find it. And once it gets out of their hand, and then they think that, it's time for me to reflect. And then they go within themselves. And then they become spiritual. And then they have the understanding and the wisdom that can just, awestruck a lot of people. So the way I view is desire is just like looking for something which makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's very true. From a meditation point of view, maybe it's important also to recognize and that path that you've described there. The things which will disturb our mind when we try to do some formal meditation practice will be the sufferings that we've caused ourselves or others when we're in the grip of anger or desire or greed. They will come to us when we're sitting. They're the things that will churn over, that will disturb our mind, right? So ethical conduct, calm, non-suffering ethical conduct is not just important for a value system. It's important because without it, meditating will become extremely difficult, because they're the things that will come there, right? And that's why it's part of a meditative renunciate path, because you just don't have that many things that are going to come and distract your mind and lead it to wonder about, that person and what they said and do I like them, and then they let me down, and then we had an argument, and then we had that argument, and then I remember that argument again, or whatever it is,
Right, absolutely.
That's a very important link to understand. I think often people ask me, how do I practice in daily life? So practicing ethically and kindly in daily life means a mind that comes to sit is already far more peaceful. So, you can also look at how those sorts of extracurricular activities that you describe, one night stands, how they, over time, how do they affect your mind state? Probably may affect meditation not so well. I don't know. Take a look, see for yourself, ask that question yourself.
Okay, and my last one would be, I think, but you actually summed it up for me. But my last one was porn. And when I say porn, are people who are watching it and also people who are participating in it. People who do the skin show. And again, I would say that they're not harming anyone. It's an individual choice. But then still, I mean, somewhere, I don't know if it's damaging mentally, emotionally, at what level. But like you have summed it up, I guess, in the previous one, that desire, and sometimes you really have to get into it to understand how much of it do you want. Only then you would know.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen any porn. I haven't seen any, right? No, in the whole of my life, I haven't seen any. So I feel very, un, unable to comment on this. Um, but, the human life is so precious. It can end at any moment. I think part of maybe becoming a bit more aware and conscious is to think more clearly about, okay, this hour, this day, this week, what do I want to spend my energy on? What really is most important to me? Because this time is passing, these hours are passing. And if you feel that really the best way to spend your next hour is in that activity, then okay. But with the potential to be so wonderful, to become an enlightened Buddha for the benefit of all beings, if you have that opportunity with this human life, it seems a little sad not to walk closer towards that with the hours that you have. But we all have this choice. As I said before, it's our choice, isn't it? I can't do it for somebody else. They have to make that choice themselves. But we are choosing each hour what we want to do with our life, hour and hour and hour and day, and week and week and week. And the time is passing.
And I think this is the only opportunity and chance that we have, because in this age, you have that understanding, you have the choice. It's just that you should be willing to make that choice. It's not that, you cannot do that. I think all of us can do whatever we want. It's just up to us if what we choose. Like you said, it's all about choices. And I think this form is the best opportunity to, uh, because this sort of wisdom and this sort of knowledge is not bestowed on all the living beings. So just make the best out of it as long as you're living here, so that you impact more and more people. Right? Okay. On that note, my last question to you, to sum all of our conversation, is that what would be then life and happiness for you?
Life and happiness. I mean, I'm very happy with the life that I've discovered now. I feel very so grateful to have my teachers, with the charity, helping children in Bhutan and teaching people. I really love my life. I feel I really am on the path that was meant for me, even though I was born in the UK by the seaside with no monks or lamas anywhere near me. Somehow the right path for me, it emerged in the end. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, for your energy. And I have to say this, I mean, talking to you, it's so calming. No? Generally, I have a very high energy and high pitch. But like while even I was talking to you, I just noticed this difference in me, and I went like this. Okay,
Oh,
let's
that's
just be
really
in flow, and let's just like talk. It was so it was just so peaceful while talking to you, and I think I have had this one of the most enlightening conversations, which I was definitely expecting it to be. And thank you so much. I mean, I didn't realize the time passed, but yeah, one of my best conversations. I've had so much of takeaways from this. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think you're doing an amazing job, and just
thank you.
keep at it, and you just shine wherever you are, and make more and more people shine brighter. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.